Some of these other things like, oh, you're as an entrepreneur, you should be making more, you should be going bigger. When in actuality, I just wanted to have really great conversations with people. So I had to wrestle with some of that stuff and just in a different fashion.
How did you go about wrestling with that?
Painfully. It was painful. Just start doing things that enliven you. Connect with your aliveness, connect with your curiosity, and start to follow that. And maybe it'll lead to finances, maybe it won't, but at some point you're going to have to feed yourself. You're starting a family. You're going to have to take care of those responsibilities. But you also got to pay attention to this part of us, the part of you that's here to be alive.
Welcome to the High Performance Human Podcast, where high achievers learn to master themselves, not just their success. I'm Creighton Bertrand, a certified high performance coach, here to share practical tools to rewire your habits and mindset. If you're ready to move beyond good enough and step into real transformation, you're in the right place. Let's get to work.
If you've ever wondered what it takes to live free, and I'm not talking about the highlight reel kind of free, but the kind that comes from facing the hard, uncomfortable parts of being human, then today's guest is going to hit home, because Tripp Lanier is the author of The Book Will Make You Dangerous and the longtime host of the New Man podcast, where he spent nearly 2 decades helping men move beyond fear, complacency, and playing it safe. At just 23, he built one of the first digital post-production companies in the Southeast, producing TV shows and commercials for major clients, all while chasing his dreams of playing music and seeing the world. But like so many of us, after 12 years of all this external success, he realized something was missing. So he sold the company, he walked away from the grind, and devoted his life to helping others live with more freedom, authenticity, and purpose. Tripp's own journey reads like an experiment in being human, from silent meditation retreats to men's circles in Costa Rican jungle to working with philosopher Ken Wilber and even hanging out backstage with David Lee Roth. Every experience has been a lesson in peeling back the layers of what it means to truly live. So, if you've ever felt stuck in a life that looks good on paper but feels heavy in your soul, if you've ever wondered why doing everything right still doesn't feel right, then this one is just for you. Awesome. Well, Tripp, I'm so excited to have you on the show today, man. Thank you for joining me. You're still over in North Carolina or South Carolina?
I'm in North Carolina, over here on the beach.
Oh, nice. Did you get surfing in today? I know it's a big part.
No surf today. It's pretty flat.
Oh, nice.
Very flat.
Is that seasonal?
No, we typically have waves coming into this time of year. We start getting cold fronts that'll bring waves in. But summer is usually the flat time, unless there's a storm out in the Atlantic.
And your guys' cold isn't really cold. I'm over here on the Pacific, so your guys' cold is...
Cold for me. I'm definitely a tropics guy, so yeah, I'm kind of a chicken shit when it comes to the cold.
Well, dude, I'm so excited. Like I said before, we're kind of talking, huge fan of everything that you're doing, how you're helping men from the inside out. I kind of want to just jump in. I think you said back when you're 23 that you built a successful business, and from the outside, it kind of looked like you had everything. But from the inside, you were struggling. Could you describe like kind of what it was that was going on, that you had all this external success, and what was going on internally that you felt something was off? Because most people would be like, oh my gosh, that's it, I made it.
Yeah, I don't know if I was anywhere close to kind of like that made it place. Like I wasn't financially independent or anything like that, but I could see where that trajectory was going. And I think that that's what bothered me, was that I didn't see anything about that trajectory that was enlivening for me. And basically the only kind of carrots that would dangle out there was just more money, more kind of like the same. And at that period of my life, I just felt like I was called to do something else other than this, other than the thing that I was doing. And sometimes we think that we have to make a living doing that thing that we're called to do. That's not typically the case. We can dive into that at some point. That's a huge myth. But just for me, I just was like, well, I got really lucky after 23. I mean, is this really what I want to do the rest of my life? It was such an early age to find a groove and get set in it. And so I wanted to view that period of my life as just a chapter in the book and like, what's next? And being young and adventurous, I was willing to ask some bigger questions and start to head down that road.
So what was it at that moment? I mean, I can go back to when I was 23. I was just drinking and being a typical.
Still drinking and doing
Still-
typical dumb shit. Yeah.
Why weren't you just chasing more success? Because ego and pride, at least for me, all the way up until my 30s, was like really my idol. My justification for everything was like, I need more money because if I get more money, then I'll have status. And if I have status, then I'll finally be good enough. Was ego not a thing that you battled with? How did you
Oh,
not
I have
want
massive
to-
ego, but I wasn't really tied to like the business didn't really define me. The business for me was a vehicle to help me live the lifestyle that I wanted. I was an artist, I was a musician, and like I designed that business so I could make music and make my own records and be able to travel and do those types of things. So it was a bit more like having a really great car, a really great reliable car, and I was ready to move on to a different car rather than this business was my identity.
Okay.
So I definitely can appreciate all the status and the identity stuff that you're talking about. But for me, there was certainly a lot of challenge around that identity. And when I started to move into becoming a coach a few years later, that's when it started like, gosh, is this really it? Because I kind of saw myself as an entrepreneur. It's like, well, why would I trade money for time? And some of these other things like, oh, as an entrepreneur, you should be making more and you should be going bigger. When in actuality, I just wanted to have really great conversations with people. And so I had to wrestle with some of that stuff and just in a different fashion.
And how did you go about wrestling with that?
Painfully. It was painful.
You didn't just flip a coin and it wasn't just easy?
Wasn't easy. I mean, it was definitely it was a bit of a dark night of the soul. I had a very comfortable, very predictable life, and then really just became through a series of events just became very voracious about learning and personal growth and spiritual development and wanting to just experience all that life had to offer. And essentially, I was running my company remotely and then eventually sold it and kind of went into this dark night of the soul, for lack of a better term, in this transition period. And it was probably about 3 or 4 years where I was trying to figure out what to do next. I had enough money to last me for a little bit, which was actually helpful, but it also kind of got in the way because it kept me from taking chances, kept me from doing things that were uncomfortable. It was like, well, that's not really the path because that would be uncomfortable. That would take work. So let's just kick back and wait for something better to come along. And so I spent a lot of time dicking around in that place and wasting time, but that was part of the journey for me.
So how did you kind of move forward then while you were battling all that?
Yeah, I mean, a few things. One thing was that I was spending a lot of time waiting for the perfect plan.
And did it
I
come?
wanted the perfect plan to come along, and the perfect plan was not going to be hard. It was not going to be risky, and it was going to make me look good. And so every opportunity that came along, I could be like, well, that looks pretty risky, or that looks like a lot of work. Or people would think that's freaking stupid. Like I couldn't do something like that. And so I didn't do anything. And what I noticed was during that period of this defensiveness, of this trying to armor myself against being uncomfortable or facing risk or looking like a moron or a failure, I was stagnant. I wasn't going anywhere. And that was incredibly painful to be in that place. And so at some point I was like, just start doing things that enliven you. Connect with your aliveness, connect with your curiosity, and start to follow that. And maybe it'll lead to finances, maybe it won't, but at some point you're going to have to feed yourself. You're starting a family. You're going to have to take care of those responsibilities. But you also got to pay attention to this part of you that's here to be alive. And so when I stopped trying to figure it out and see how the whole plan was going to unravel and present itself and just made peace with the uncertainty, it got a lot more fun, even though that was the part I was trying to avoid. But once I got into it, I was like, I want to explore this. I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. And I just got on this path of learning, and I found my aliveness that way. And then I can look back in the rearview mirror and see how all those dots connected. They all make sense now. But at the time, it just seemed dumb. It seemed a bit insane.
I'm just taking it back for someone that isn't familiar with your story and everything. So you had your business, and then you were pursuing the coaching, or what was, Because most people, when they get out of their, like for me, I was in engineering and then I was like, okay, well, it's real estate. And then I started to go into real estate. And then from there, I got into go, like, I had a thing pulling me out of the pain. But it sounds like on your side, you were in the pain. You didn't like what you were doing. You were seeking, but you didn't have that thing that you were.
I had a hunch that it was in the realm of helping people and personal growth and those types of things. And I think I was stuck in like, it has to look a certain way.
Mm.
And that was limiting me rather than let's just start exploring things and find where your yes is instead of how it should look and what it's supposed to be like.
And you still had finances coming in.
I had some savings. I sold that business and I had enough savings to kind of float me for a little while, but not forever. Like it was just a few years and I was watching that drain and it was a really uncomfortable time. But like I said, having that money there kind of allowed me to dick around. Like it was like, oh, I don't really have to take a risk. I don't really have to put both feet in because there's not a big enough stick here that's whacking me on the ass, so to speak.
Would you recommend someone to do it the same way you did of, hey, just cut off your finances and the pressure is going to force you to go find your purpose, that thing that like you talk about that makes you feel alive?
I mean, that sounds romantic and that's a good for movies and whatever, but I think that I want to be careful here. I prefer to work with people because I'll help people through these transitions quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I prefer to have some means of cash or some means of income that doesn't have to be for their entire lifestyle, but it just basically creates some stability and allows them to experiment. It allows them to be in a place of let's see what happens here instead of this has to work or else.
What do you notice with those people that come in with that this has to work or else?
There's no creativity. They're in complete urgency and survival. It's just not a fun place. You can't really rely on your own sensibilities because you're just trying to avoid something terrible.
Yeah.
Which is different than, okay, let me use my job or my income as a means to support me to go do something meaningful. Not that my job has to be the meaningful thing, but it can support me to be doing meaningful work. And when we can identify that, like kind of separate that identity from it, like, yeah, this thing just helps me make money so that I can go find the things that provide more freedom, aliveness, love, and peace for me. And then when we do that, it just, things can start to relax. But for some people, it's like without some kind of tension there, they won't get moving. And that's where coaching comes in. Coaching is like, you know what, I'm both feet in, but I need some support here.
Do you have coaching yourself as well, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had many coaches over the years.
Yeah. I feel like that's a really good indicator that even us, like, I mean, my wife helps me out all the time of reminding, and then my coach as well, because it's easy to default back to your beliefs and your identity or whatever your neural paths are. That's like, hey, this is just what it is.
It's gotten harder for me as I've gotten older and gone from more of kind of this student mentality into like entering into an elder state now. I'm kind of moving.
Is that what happens as the transition happens here?
I feel like I got to push myself a bit more to be like, okay, what are we learning now? Like, I mean, I'm always learning and doing stuff, but there's definitely more of a, like, I just finished another book and it's like, yeah, I'm in this place of more teaching. And so that receptivity, being kind of challenging myself to stay in that receptive place.
Which one do you like better, being the elder or being the naive, reckless, just wrecking ball going through, trying to learn and figure things out?
I mean, there's perks to both. I enjoy helping people, and at this stage of life, it's incredibly rewarding. But there is something about kind of watching the seasons of this industry go through, and it's like every few years another generation enters, and it's like the first time they've heard these ideas, and they think they're the ones coming up with the ideas. Mm-hmm. And I was probably guilty of that as well. So you watch that happen several times and you're like, I don't think people really study history a whole lot, but you know, you just kind of get used to like,
or they just take their sliver and they're just like, okay, I know this much. So therefore all these, but then once you start learning all this, you're just like, oh, we're all just repeating the same thing over and over.
It's very different now because before the social media stuff and whatever, like there wasn't that much of an incentive to be a teacher or, you know, a figure in that regard. It was a lot more work. And now it's just like, well, I have this phone and I can just repeat shit that I just read a ChatGPT review of this thing, and now I can repeat it and act like I'm a teacher now.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more of that noise, and I'm okay as long as people are learning and growing. That's great, but there's just a lot more noise.
What's your thoughts on that? And maybe it's from me being an engineer and just like wanting data details. Like I love to like dive deep of all these people online or whatever that are just putting out these mantras. And I guess the question would be, what's your opinion on just keep telling yourself, like, let's say that you have that job. I'll go to something specific. Like I have that job that I hate and I just keep telling myself I'm happy, I'm grateful. Do you think that that will help and will get you to a place of actual happiness and fulfillment that you could literally just,
To keep lying to yourself?
I mean, and I'm only asking this because I
Is
battled this.
is that what you're asking? I just want to make sure if I understand.
I guess I'm asking for some free coaching here in this moment, because I remember my time, if I go back to being an engineer and understanding neuroscience and neural pathways and all that, like if I keep telling myself, over and over that this is purple, this is purple, this is purple, and I get everyone else to buy in and keep telling me purple, at a moment in time, I'm going to have the neural pathways that I see these wavelengths and be like, okay, yeah, I associate that with purple. So going back to having a job that you hate and all that, if you keep telling yourself, man, I'm so grateful for this job's amazing, do you really believe that there'll be a moment where, boom, now I finally believe and I can be happy at this job?
Let's unpack that, because you're talking about trying to think a certain way. And I think we can certainly be grateful for, I think it gets into this either or. Either my job is the bad guy or it's this great thing. All right.
Well said. Yes. 100%.
So again, it's about understanding the role of the job. I can be grateful for my job, that it provides some security and stability, et cetera. And then I can also learn to listen to myself, because what you're describing here is this thought from the outside going in. Should. This is purple, not red. It's purple, purple, purple. When in actuality, a lot of what I try to help people do is listen. Shut the fuck up and listen. Listen to yourself. What's going on? And you might find that there's lots of different things going on, and it's very confusing and it's very uncomfortable. But most of us are afraid to actually spend time with ourselves where we're not distracted and actually have our experience. So there's the thinking part. But then you were also, I don't know if you realize it, but you were describing the experience. I'm feeling this way, but I want to think this way. And so what if both were allowed, that you were allowed to have all these kind of thoughts and wanting to believe things, but also just coming back to what's the real experience? And the experience will tell us it's just information. It's more information. The emotions are information. What's going on in our body is information. If I feel repulsed, if I wake up and I'm like, my first thing is, ugh, that's information. And can we be curious and can we allow it? Which is different than that's not allowed. Don't feel that way. Let's think something else. And a lot of us are doing that. And so we have to continue to distract ourselves from ourselves. We have to continue to numb ourselves. We lose a lot of power there. And if we continue to numb ourselves from our experience, we ultimately block our ability to have the experiences we really want to have. You call it fulfillment. I don't really know what fulfillment feels like, but I know what it feels like to feel free. I know what it feels like to feel alive. I know what it feels like to feel loving and connected. I know what it feels like to have peace of mind. But if I'm so busy having to distract myself from the things that are uncomfortable, then I'll never have the pathways open to experience the things I do want to have.
Can you just keep going forever? Like I'll just sit here.
I'll pause there.
That's so good, having both of them coexist. So for someone that is in that job that they do not take time to experience what is happening, what do you think that they should start doing? Is yours recommendation to start practicing stillness, to start having awareness?
Yeah. What is this feeling? Instead of running away from it, like, what is it? Where is it? It's in my gut, or it's in my throat, or it's in my chest. And what does it want to say? What does it feel? I like to think of our brains as kind of boardrooms. And there's all these members sitting around the table. It's very IFS, right? But it's just like who has something to say? Because the more that we're silencing these aspects of ourselves, the more that we're cutting ourselves off from ourselves. And so we lose power there. We lose vitality there if we're against ourselves. We're at war with ourselves and trying to silence ourselves. The fear is that if we allow ourselves to have a voice and we allow things to be within ourselves, like somehow going to lose control. We might actually have sadness or grief or anger or frustration, or my God, I might actually admit that I don't want to be with this woman anymore or something. There's a lot of scary stuff. But I found that if we can just allow ourselves the privacy to grab a journal or a piece of paper and just write down the things and look at it, there it is. That's how I feel. Let me see if I feel this way a week from now. Let me just continue to write this stuff out or to talk about it with a coach or a friend and not have to act on it in that moment. Just, it's here. This is here. This is here today. It's not like, hey, do you want pizza? No, I don't really want pizza. It's like, I don't want pizza ever again. It's just tonight. I always fucking want pizza. But it's just like whenever you want, like maybe that's just how you feel tonight and it's okay. But that can be really scary.
Yeah.
Some of these thoughts can be really scary.
What do you think it is that makes them so scary? Like, I think you nailed it, of obviously wanting the control, but why do you think it is that we don't want to see these things that we've been running and hiding from?
Usually we attach meaning to them. What does this say about me? Or what does this say about my marriage? Or what does this say about this choice that I've made in my life? Yeah. If I feel this way, it can be, I don't want to know what that means. Instead of, I just feel that way right now. And if we can just give some space between the actual experience and what it needs to mean, it might just need to be there. It might just need to relax. But for me, I'm always curious because behind that emotion is information. There's really good information that we can turn into creativity. Okay, if you're not liking this, let's figure out what you would like. Instead of, I don't like this, let's shut it all down and just kind of keep steamrolling through it.
Yeah.
Versus, cool, this is an opportunity to make a change. And why does it have to be this terrible thing?
Because I don't know what the change needs to be. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know the impact. I don't like, that's at least usually where most people's minds go.
Yeah.
The unknown is so scary for some reason. But then on the other side, like, this is what I always challenge people. Like, think of anything in your life that was worth doing. I guarantee it was unplanned. It was unpredictable. It was all these unknowns is what makes it so exciting. But yet in a daily activities and daily decision, we're so afraid of that unknown.
Yeah. Everything we're talking about here is in my book. This book will make you dangerous, but it really is like what feels dangerous to us as we get older in this cushy modern lifestyle. Is anything uncomfortable, like physically uncomfortable, obviously, but emotionally uncomfortable. We're afraid of uncertainty. We're afraid of losing control. We're afraid of looking bad. We're afraid of having people judge us in some way. That's what feels dangerous, right? It's not hucking yourself off of a cliff or in a wingsuit or something. That might take work, or they might think I'm weird. That's dangerous for us today. And I raise my hand. I'm part of this. Like, it's just part of our wiring. But if we understand that, and you're like, I can expect that. I can expect that that's going to happen in the same way that I go to the gym, and I can expect that my muscles are going to be uncomfortable during this process. Okay, well, it doesn't mean it's wrong. And it means that I can just do little bits at a time instead of, if I start this process, it has to be crazy and reckless and I'm going to wreck my entire life in one afternoon.
It's easing into the discomfort. Is that something that you would say that is a requirement for anything? Is
what I have found is that the more that we seek comfort, the more that we seek certainty, and the more that we seek, let's just say, acceptance, like the way that we look, after a certain point, it flattens out. Life doesn't get any more rewarding. Like fulfillment, that's not where fulfillment happens. And we end up with, I call them fragile rich guys. Like they just get more and more fragile. They get more and more frazzled if the delivery is going to be a day late, if they can't find the remote. Like their world actually starts to get more and more small and they get more and more rigid. All right? Because we get so attached to this comfort and certainty and control and needing to look a certain way. Where we find that fulfillment, where we find that freedom, that aliveness, the real love and that peace is doing shit that's a little bit scary. It's a little bit dangerous. And so when you said, is it on the other side of being a little bit of having some discomfort, it's like, yeah, but what else comes from like is a sense of like, I'm doing something. I'm not sitting around waiting and wondering what's going to happen. It's like, I'm finding it. I'm empowered. And that's a great feeling. Even if all the questions haven't been answered yet, there's a sense of like, yeah, but I'm not dicking around. I'm living my life.
What would you say for the person that they like that idea, But it's like everyone knows, obviously, I should exercise and diet, right? Like if I've decided in my mind, I do need to be healthy. I know I need to exercise and diet. I know that I need to do stuff that's a little bit uncomfortable, but they can't get themselves to actually take that action. Does that make sense? They've committed to wanting it, but they
They don't
just
want it.
can't.
No, they don't.
I would agree. Is there anything, in your opinion, that they can do to start to
Yeah,
maybe
have a heart
want
attack.
it a little bit more?
Yeah, have a heart attack.
What are the
I mean,
D's? Death, the disease. There's a certain number of D's that help people make
unfortunately, a lot of people get really motivated after they find out their wife was sleeping with somebody else, or their
there's
business partner cuts them
divorce.
out of the company, or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? It's like they've waited too long. They had their head in the sand.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those are the big moments. It's like, okay, here we go. And we can wait for that, but I think everybody's got to have their own path. And sometimes those moments are what's necessary for people to wake up. But it's never a matter of, oh, I want it and I'm just not doing it. It's like when we really want something, it's pretty amazing what we're willing to do. And so just challenging ourselves, like, it's okay, I don't want it. Like, I
Yes.
really don't. Like, I don't want, and just be at peace with that. There's so many
Yes.
things I would love to do, and I'm just aware, like, it's not going to happen because I don't want it bad enough, and that's okay. But let's not bullshit
Don't lie to
myself.
yourself. Yes. I call it, I always say, is it a wish or a want? Like if I'm suffocating you and choking you, do you wish to breathe or do you want to breathe? If it's a want, you're going to do any and everything possible to get it. But a wish is like, it'd be nice. Like, hey, I don't want to put any work or effort to it, but if it comes to me, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, and I've had people that show up and say they want coaching, and I ask them about their current trajectory, and I was like, if you're still here in 5 years, is it okay? And they're like, yeah, it's not too bad. And I was like, call me later.
See ya.
This is a hobby for you.
Yeah. It's a wish. It would be nice if it came, but I don't want to change anything to
Yeah.
achieve it or go after it.
It's really powerful, though, when we do recognize that if I really want something, I will move mountains. And this is true for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
When you really get that about yourself, there's a confidence that comes up. And it's like, okay.
And even on a damaging side, like I love to do extremes when I'm talking to people of like, look at how disabled you are, or look how bad your health is. Like you've moved mountains to create that reality. Like that would take me so much time, energy, and effort to get, like, congratulations, you succeeded at either being a terrible husband or a terrible father or terrible to your health or getting in debt. Like you chose that. That's awesome. If you could create something so quote unquote bad that society's deemed, who knows if it's right or wrong, but you create something so bad. If you put that same energy into something else, you can create that as well. Like that should be so exciting to you.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Good
But
point.
it's up to you to decide, like, oh, okay, yeah, if I did create this, like, why can't I create anything else? And you can, but just like you sitting and doing nothing, like you're going to have to decide to sit and do something else. And I want to talk about this because I love how big you are into stillness. And me, my entire life was always about doing just action, action, action. And you were saying that just start listening to yourself. And that was really my trajectory of I was so miserable in all this because I was running from everything, distracting, more money, more success that will finally make things better. And it actually just made things so much worse that it wasn't until I started to like just sit and do meditation. And when I did it with that doing energy of like, because I've done like crazy physical challenges, like running 48 miles in 48 hours. Like I love to push myself. So I used what I'm good at and said, okay, cool. I'm going to sit and meditate because it's one of the hardest things. And so I came at it from that standpoint of like, okay, I do hard things. If I do hard things, then I have to be able to do this as well. And I'm so grateful that I did because it totally changed everything because I started to recognize and see all this stuff. Do you have any starting for that person that's like, okay, cool, I'm wanting to do some awareness because I know you've done so much. You've done silent retreats, you've even done plant medicine, you've done stuff in the jungle. Like, what do you feel like is the best starting point for that person that is a younger version of Creighton? Like, I don't have time. You don't understand, Tripp. My mind is crazy and it's always active and it's just so hard.
Yeah, get over yourself. That would be I mean, just to start there, like, what if we didn't have to believe everything that we told ourselves? What if this story that we have of urgency is rooted in the part of us that thinks that being urgent and having so much on our plate is what makes us worthy?
Yeah.
There's an addiction to busy